Thanks, mate. Thank you, bro. Thank you, guys.
So this one doesn't work. Oh, yeah, it does.
Yeah.
There you go. Thanks for joining us.
No, mate, thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone for coming.
Tonight, very informal chat. I want to hear your story, your background. I always start with the background. I usually start with the question, was there a mother or father that was an entrepreneur?
Good question. So I actually grew up in, this microphone's a bit. Yeah, can I get rid of it? Yeah.
Yeah?
Play.
You guys in the back can hear us all right? Yeah?
Yeah, beautiful. I'll just talk louder.
Yeah, no.
There you go, mate. I actually grew up in country Victoria. My parents had a small cattle and sheep farm. Did you know Kyneton area? Yep, grew up down there. Were my parents entrepreneurs? My dad attempted 1 or 2 businesses. One was successful when he was young. He had a scrap metal business, basically just, very small business. And then he tried for another business, but was unsuccessful. So did I have entrepreneurs? He was in the corporate field most of his life, and my mum was a stay-at-home mum. So probably not. I wasn't surrounded by entrepreneurs until I was around 25, 26. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was until I was in my early 20s.
Second question I usually ask is, do you have a moment that you remember as an entrepreneurial kind of thing when you were a kid? Did you sell baseball cards or something?
Yeah, man. When I was in year 9, I had a dream of travelling and working in London when I finished year 12. But because I lived in an isolated area, trying to get to London was quite challenging because I couldn't get a part-time job. So I had a couple of options. I could try do jobs around the house, earn a couple of bucks here and there, or I could sell my school lunch. So my mum used to pack the most amazing school lunches. I'm talking chicken and avocado sandwiches, cakes, lollies, even chicken wings with salt satchels on the side. The works. Kids would often ask me for spare food I had, and I was generally happy to oblige, and I'd give it to them for free. But then I thought, why don't I start charging kids for food? So then I'd charge $1 for a chicken sandwich and $1 for a chocolate bar. And as word spread, demand grew, and then within a couple of weeks I had 2 heavy-duty lunch boxes full of food. Now, to give you an idea, in year 12, actually, to give you an idea, I actually weigh 84 kilos right now. In year 12, I weighed 60 kilos, and I was the same height as I am now. So it's a 24 kilo difference. You could say I was an advocate for intermittent fasting before it was trendy. I actually didn't eat a thing during school for 3 years. I began to diversify beyond hospitality into sports and entertainment. I began leasing out sports equipment and X-rated VHS tapes. True story. The VHS tapes were my most popular items, and within 3 years I had saved more than $15,000 tax-free.
Right, it's dedication.
And it paid for my London adventure, and I had an amazing time.
What happened in London? Tell us. Was it business or just? No,
it was purely just to get off the farm.
Yeah.
Being isolated on the farm, and my siblings moved out when I was quite young, so being on the farm with my parents was challenging at best. So I moved to London, went and lived in Leicester Square, worked in bars and clubs, and stayed there for 6 to 8 months and just had a good time. Came back broken, and then went to university. Got into VUT doing business marketing at the Sunbury campus, which is the worst campus in Victoria. Has anyone been to VUT? No, sorry if you have. So I went to VUT, lasted 6 weeks. Wasn't for me. I just wasn't into studying at this stage. And then ended up working in bars and restaurants in Melbourne as a waiter, and then I worked in a hotel as a porter for a few years, and I did a diploma of hospitality management at William Englis.
All
right. Working in hospitality was great. It taught me how to interact with people, but there was no money. I think I was earning $16 an hour, getting a couple of tips here and there. It just wasn't for me, so then I got a job as a trainee professional, as a golf professional down at Brighton Golf Course. I always loved golf as a kid. I was working in the pro shop, serving meat pies and teaching people how to play golf, earning $12 an hour. So I actually went backwards, and this is at the age of 23, I think, or 22. And then I resigned from that job and then got a job doing data entry for a recruitment company. And by the way, I still punch with 2 fingers when I type, even now. And I got a job doing data entry, punching in numbers and letters, etc. And I did that for a year, got promoted to a recruitment role, got promoted again, and within 2.5 years I was GM of the whole company. And the company was about 100 people.
So what changed? What changed for you? Was it just like once you saw an opportunity in that company and it kind of switched you on?
Honestly, when I worked in the corporate environment, I loved it. I just thrived. I loved doing sales. When I got that sales job, I did a 1-day training course on how to sell. And then something just clicked in my brain. And I walked out of that sales training, jumped on the phone and just started smashing the phones. I was making 100 calls a day, 200 calls a day, pitching recruitment services for trainees and apprentices, and I loved every single minute of it. It was just, I was a sponge, I was learning everything I could. And then I got promoted again, and then I was managing some people, and then I left that company. Do you want my whole life story here?
Mate, that's what we're going for.
Yeah, cool.
We'll get on to WME, but yeah, so this is what we want to know, the background.
So I was working recruitment, making a couple $100,000 a year, which is a lot of money for a 24-year-old. But then I was making other people wealthy, and it used to just do my head in. So then I had an idea for a skincare business. I had really bad skin as a kid, severe acne. And I developed a skincare product. It's a tablet that you take and it helps clear up your acne. I hired a pharmacist to develop the product for me. It took about 8 or 9 months to develop, and then once it was ready, I quit my job and launched a company called Skin B5, which is still going today. It was a supplement company and topical products. Was it successful? Not really. I was making $300 or $400 a week.
How did you cut through all the compliance and all the regulation, or was this is growth hacking? This is startup tricks.
This was my first business. I was living in Melbourne at the time, and I put a proposal line to get an investor. There's a website called Australian Investment Network, and then basically you can get investors through this website. I found an investor to give me $100,000 basically for my idea. He would take 30% of the business. I had another partner who I gave, I think, 20% of the business to, and I had the rest. He helped fund the business. I'd already put $100,000 of my own money in, and then we tried to grew the business from there. It was very, very challenging. We had a TGA, very regulated business, had problems with manufacturers, which was all out of my control. And I just wasn't getting the uptake from the customers. It was all online at this stage. I was learning how to do SEO myself, AdWords myself, but we were selling probably $1,000 worth a day of product, and profit was roughly $100.
Right.
Yeah, so we're making no money.
To manufacture locally?
In Sydney, yeah. I did that business for 4 years. It's a tough slog, earning $400 a week for 4 years, and I was paying rent, food, the works.
You're an entrepreneur.
Mate, it's bread and water for a long time. So if you're in pain at the moment, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Trust me, just take some time. So I did that business for a few years, and then I ended up selling out to my business partner, but for nothing. I was in debt up to my eyeballs. I sold out just enough to cover my debts, and then I decided to fund WME from my bedroom back in 2008. And I started that business when I was 28, which is quite late these days to start a business. Not late, but you see kids these days starting businesses at 18, 19, 20 years of age. So I started WME from my bedroom with $400. I got a website built in Vietnam for $120. I bought a mobile phone because I didn't have one at the time.
That's your sales center?
Yeah, mate, it was. It was. So what's that, $220, and I think I bought a second-hand laptop because my other one died from someone on Gumtree. So I think $400 to set the business up. I started cold calling people from page 2 of Google, saying I can do your SEO, and I didn't know SEO.
But nobody else knew, so...
No one knew anything. Yeah. So I had a website built in Vietnam saying I'm the SEO expert, I can do your SEO. And I was just cold calling people, and then someone sent me a check for $10,000 within 4 days. And I thought, holy shit, I've got a business on my hands here. And in the early days, I was outsourcing the work to India. Disaster. Don't outsource the work to India or Philippines. It's terrible. And I was taking a clip. I saved enough money. I basically reinvested all the money back into the business. Still lived on bread and water for the first 12 months. And raised, I think, $500,000 in 12 months.
Well, can I take one step back and say, why digital? Was it just you enjoyed doing that marketing piece for the last business, or was it because, you said you had problems with manufacturers? I got an import business, and I hate that fact where those components that are out of your hands, where with digital you can be in control of everything, well, except for Philippines and India.
Well, the question, why did I start the business? WME?
Well, yeah.
I was trying to find a digital marketing company for Skin B5, which is my first business, and they were charging $2,000 a month, no guarantees, no KPIs, no assurances, and 12-month contracts. And I thought, you want me to give you $24,000 with no KPIs or guarantees? How do I know you're going to do a good job? And every company I went to was charging roughly the same price. And I thought, screw that, I'll start my own business. And then that's it basically evolved. I started the business, undercut all my competitors, offered guarantees, and grew the business organically that way. In the early days, I was cold calling, but also, actually, let me ask you a question. Does everyone receive these emails from Indians saying, I can get you on page 1 of Google? Yeah. Everyone received those emails? I think I may have been the founder of that practice. So my first hire was a developer from Vietnam. He just moved to Australia. I think I was paying him $18 an hour. And I said to him, I want to build a tool that scrapes people's information that are on page 2 of Google, scrapes their email address, says they're on page 2 of Google with their website, and it basically emails them saying, if you want to get page 1, reply to this email. No one else was doing it this at the time.
Growth hacking. You invented growth hacking, basically.
Basically, yeah. It is illegal now. It is spamming. And I developed this piece of software. It was a piece of rubbish tool, but it worked. People would respond saying, I'm interested. I'm thinking, fantastic, free leads. So I'm not paying for any SEO, I'm not paying for any AdWords or social media. I've got these free leads coming in. I was probably getting 5 to 6 leads a day at the time. And it could be even at 9 p.m. at night or 12 p.m. on a Saturday, and I'm having a picnic with my ex-girlfriend. I'll jump on the phone and I'll call that lead and hopefully close the deal.
Do you think, given the way you've kind of set your business up, that you try to gear everything towards you making sales calls, that sales is the key ingredient for getting startups off the ground?
Look, end of the day, if you can't get business in the door, you don't have a business. You might have the most amazing product or service, but if there's no money coming in or no business coming in, how can you grow it? I think people underestimate the power of marketing and sales. It's such a vital part of the company that without it, you don't have a business.
Yeah, no, I'm interested because a lot of people are so focused on building the product and stuff and not thinking about, picking up the phone.
Mate, I've seen it 1,000 times. One of my very good mates, he's one of the smartest guys in the room, one of those guys who knows everything, technically a genius. I started a business with him overseas, back-end wise, amazing. Front-end wise, getting business in the door, just didn't know how to generate deals. The business went under because we couldn't get enough business in the front door. And the problem was, because he thought he knew everything, he didn't allow me to help him win, if that makes sense. If someone knows everything and you give them advice or you try and guide them, they just kind of blow it off and tell you to piss off. The business ended up going under because he wasn't focused on generating deals. He was trying to make the product perfect. The product or service or the website doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be good enough to service your customers. You can refine the product over time. It will take time, but you've got to get business in the door to fund your business.
Nice. Yep. So moving forward, you've done your growth hacking bit, scraping emails and getting there and calling. You think you got a business on your hand. What was the first big win? Aside from the $10,000 check?
My second hire was a salesperson from New Zealand. Actually, I'll tell you basically before that. So to win customers, I used to say that I had a massive office with 100 staff.
It's like the Dell.
Yeah, literally.
The Dell computer.
And I was working out of my bedroom in Richmond. Alex, actually, the gentleman over there, was my housemate at the time. So I'd be working in my bedroom in my jocks all day, just on the phone, punching out work. And then customers would say, I want to meet you at your office. I said, not a problem. I used to hire a boardroom on Latrobe Street. And the customer would walk in and I'd walk in, I'd say, let's walk around the office. And it was a serviced office.
Some of them you can pay to put your signage up.
Yeah, actually, I did that.
Yeah.
So I'd walk the customer around the office saying, these are my staff, and I'd wave to the people, didn't know who they were, and they would wave back. And they go, oh, you've got a really good operation here. I'm like, yeah, thank you very much. Go into the boardroom, close the deal, and then go home to my bedroom. Once that I had enough money, I actually moved into that office.
So it all lined up and checked out.
And leased at a small little room, probably 2 meters by 1 meter. It was tiny, no windows. It was myself, a salesperson, my developer, and our desks. The room was so small, our desks were all joined. And to get to his desk, you had to climb over the desk. It was that small. So my second hire was a salesperson. The leads are coming in, and we had a whiteboard with all our deals. And I think we went, in 1 week, we went from doing $10,000 a week to $80,000 in a week. And I was sitting there staring at this whiteboard going, what has just happened? We just had the week of our lives, got a bottle of champagne, cracked it open, and then things from there just kind of rolled on. People believe that, or some people believe that one person doesn't make a difference in your business. Throughout the 9 years since I had WME, there's been game changers in my business. Probably 5 people who've made massive differences. The first salesperson, then I had an operations manager, probably a year later. Then I hired another salesperson who took the business to a different level. One person can make such a difference in your organization. You need to hire well.
So for like, I've got a lot of startups in the room, company with no money, how do you attract that kind of talent? Is it an equity thing? How do you think you do that?
I really don't like giving equity away. If you can, avoid giving equity in your business, especially in startup stage. Because your business might be worth $100 million eventually. And if you give away 10%, that's $10 million you've given away. How do you win talent in the early days? You need
vision?
You need to sell the dream.
Yeah.
The vision. Potentially profit share if you can. And try and hire smart grads. Really smart kids. There's a lot of smart kids around. Try and get them on board. People in their late 20s, 30s generally won't work for crap money. They just won't. You need to hire smart kids. And you need to get business in the door to fund it all as well.
Nice. So 80 grand, pop in champagne. We had the founder of Hired, some related story. Founder of Hired, he founded 99 Designs, and he was saying, the funny thing that he was, Moet Chandon, or it was one of those companies, called him and said, look.
Cheap champagne wasn't the good stuff.
Yeah, no, well, this is the good stuff. And he said, look, you happen to be the highest purchaser in California of our champagne. Are you guys like some rap group or something? But Hired, there you go.
Yeah, we had
champagne.
Cheap champagne, and then from there I hired an admin person to help take the phone calls, and I put them in the little office as well. So we had 4 people in this tiny little office, and then I thought it's time to bring all the work in-house. I had saved enough money in the bank. At that time I was outsourcing to India and the Philippines, which was an absolute disaster. It was even worse 10 years ago. It was just, quality control wasn't there, and the mistakes were happening, the English was bad. It wasn't working. So I hired an SEO tech, moved out of the office, hired an SEO tech, and got an office that was roughly, I think 40 square meters, which is still probably the size of this room. In this room I could fit 30 or 40 people in the office. I was cramming people in there.
Was this a case of learning on the job? You said you didn't know anything about SEO to start?
I didn't know SEO, I didn't know how to run a business, I didn't have any mentors. If I had a mentor, I probably would have made a lot less mistakes. I made a shitload of mistakes in the early days, and I still make mistakes now, but obviously not as many. It was purely just on the fly, just kind of winging it, common sense. Actually, when you hire people, hire for one thing: common sense. It makes such a difference. If I see someone with MBAs and PhDs and all that, if they interview and they don't have common sense, I won't hire them. Mate, it's the most important thing for me is common sense, then experience, then education for me. Because I've been burned in the past by hiring someone by their education. They just can't handle the pressure in a high pressure environment.
The founder of Prezi sat down with us. He had the Hungary test. And he was like, if I can't sit with this guy from San Francisco to Hungary, that was their test.
Really?
Yeah. Then I'm not hiring him.
That's a good test.
Yeah.
That's a good test.
He's like, they have it as the flight test, whatever, Hungary test. Yeah, go ahead. I've been to your office. I think it was like...
The new one?
Yeah, well, I think so. No, not the new one. I think there's like 200 employees or whatever. Talk about scaling, and a question that I often ask is how, you've had a winning business, how do you scale culture?
I'll be honest with you, in the early days, I didn't appreciate culture as much as I should have. So the first office was in Latrobe Street, a small little office. Then I moved to Queen Street, and at this stage I had roughly 12 to 15 people. Because I was new and I didn't understand culture as well as I should have, I probably didn't give it enough attention. I had a good team, but I was too focused on growing the company that I just didn't understand the value of people at that time. This is in 2010, and for some dumb reason I decided to go open an office in Singapore. So instead of growing the business in Australia, I went to Singapore, found an office, laid the carpet myself. I don't know why I did this. I just enjoyed going to Singapore. Went and laid the carpet myself, hired a team, started a business in Singapore, came back to the Melbourne office. Because I didn't have a strong management team in place, the office went, it just declined. If there's no leader, if people can't follow someone, they're like headless chickens. They just go around in circles and do their own thing, and it never works out. So I came back to Australia, tried to fix the problem, hired an ops manager to help manage the people. Because at that time I was very, temperamental. Because I was so passionate about business that I couldn't stand mistakes. I was very hot-headed 8 or 9 years ago. And now I've seen everything and more. I'm so chilled at work. Back then I was like, how can you make that mistake? How is that possible?
Oh, with some swearing.
With some swearing.
Yeah.
So I came back, the business grew faster than I expected. We went from 12 people to 50 people to 100 people within 2 years. The money started rolling in. I probably got complacent because there was so much money coming in at this stage. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant here, it just happened. I got a corner office. I started going out, hanging out with my friends. I lost focus on the business. This is around 2011. Wages went up, sales went down, and then our CFO came into my office and said, Nick, you cannot pay the bills in 2 weeks' time. I'm like, how is that possible? Got so much money coming in, but your wages are through the roof, staff are coming in late to work. I took my eye off the ball. I got sloppy, and that just kind of slapped me in the face. So I moved out of my office, I sat on the floor, I let go of the staff that weren't performing. Their attitude it was a virus within the company. So I let a big chunk of the sales team go, a few account managers go. I jumped back on the sales floor with the team and made some massive adjustments and just turned the business around within 2 weeks. And then from there, I never lost focus again. I never got complacent. I was always at work early, leaving late, and I tried to hire good people. If I can't work with you and I don't like you as a person, and vice versa, it's not going to work. You need to like the people you work with. It's crucial. Otherwise, there's no enjoyment in work.
Do you think that going back, so the result of getting back to the focus and then growing the business and cutting out all that wasn't working,
Yep.
is that you now back in the business and taking charge, or was there also some processes where you can still, you have that culture?
This
right?
is back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yep. Luckily, in 2011, I decided to invest heavily into our own software and CRM and processes within the company. Because our growth was rapid, we needed to invest in our own R&D. Spent about $5 or $6 million in R&D. Invested in good people. Then that allowed us to expand internationally quite quickly. So we went to New Zealand, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and because we had one central management system, every single office was using the same system. It was easy to grow quickly. Went to Vietnam, but that office didn't work. It was very hard to manage staff in Vietnam back then. Has anyone had any experience with managing a Vietnamese team? It was challenging. This is 10 years ago. It's probably better now. Dubai, California, and we went from 100 people to 500 people within 2 years. And the growth was rapid. It was challenging, trying to manage 50 people in Singapore, 50 people in Hong Kong, 50 people in Dubai from Australia was tough. I had GMs, but the GMs probably weren't as experienced as they could be. So I spent a lot of time on the road working with the teams, helping them grow, teaching them our way, our culture. I could have done it better, but in the past probably 3 years of the business, I hired a COO, had a really strong management team in place, and the business completely transformed. We became a professional organisation, if that makes sense, a proper business with structure, with processes, and the business doubled in revenue every single year in the past 3 years.
Right, so do you think that was partly to do with you being able to finally step back a bit?
Yes, and lessons learned throughout the whole process. I made a lot of mistakes and I thought it was easier than it actually was. Because the money was coming in, I thought, this is quite easy. It's not easy, because if you don't deliver, problems occur. So I basically put all the money back into the company, into people, into resources, into staff, and then from there, the staff were happier, the customers were happier, we grew, and then everyone's proud of what they're doing. If you've got a great company, people are proud of going to work. Before that, it was a bit loose. I tightened everything up. And from there, we diversified the company.
What are some of the big success stories that you're proud of along the way? Or some of the failures? Either way you want to go, we'll come back around we'll end on a happy note.
I've got a lot of failures in there.
Good, this is the learning.
Yeah, I've got a lot of failures. Probably diversifying the company into businesses I didn't know. I invested in a few companies. This is completely random, like a restaurant, for example. I lost $1 million in a restaurant. I tried to emulate a restaurant chain, it failed. And I was investing in a lot of startups because I loved their idea. It's not about the idea, it's about the person driving the startup. These days I'm very strict with what I invest in. Back then I was putting $100,000 here, $200,000 there, because I love the idea. But without proper implementation, the idea sinks, the business sinks, and I waste a lot of money on poorly managed startups.
Gambling.
It was gambling. These days I say to a startup, if I invest $100,000 into Facebook shares, there's a good chance I'll double my money in 12 months, because Facebook shares are undervalued. If I give you $100,000, there's a probably good chance you'll lose it. So why would I give you $100,000 and not Facebook shares? They need to justify how I can make a return on that money. Yes, I want to help you, but I always want to make money from it and get a return on my investment.
Not a charity.
I'm not a charity,
Yeah.
and no one should be. If you invest, you expect a return. It's simple as that.
So you invested in a restaurant, probably the same time you were out partying with your buddies, around the same time period, I'm guessing. And then what else? What else were some of the, in terms of internally in your business, what were some of the mistakes that we could hopefully avoid?
Biggest mistake was hiring the wrong people, because I thought they had the right experience, but their mentality and the way they thought wasn't suited to my organisation. People, and probably not investing early enough into culture. In the last 2 or 3 years, I invested heavily in promoting a strong culture within the organisation, and it paid dividends. If I did that early on, I would have made a lot less mistakes and kept a lot of good people within the business. You want to retain good people. It's crucial for growth. And I lost a few good people as a result.
So can you talk about that? I mean, digital business evolving all the time. I was talking to the guy that was standing here before, Boston Consulting Group. The attractiveness of going to the US and making, 2 or 3 times the amount of money. How do you keep talent here in a digital business? And
look, I think you have to pay well. You can't pay less than market value. I don't think it's fair to them or the business. You've got to keep them challenged, and that means evolving the company, growing the company. If there's no new challenges, they get stagnant and they'll leave. Trying to find talent in Australia is challenging because within the digital space, there's a lot of competition. So I had a digital marketing business and I had 3,500 competitors in Australia. That's a shitload of competitors. So how do you differentiate? How do you separate yourself from them? Growth, culture, obviously your pay packet, and strong leadership. So you need to keep them challenged.
Right. Let me take a couple of questions here while I'm going. What do you think the roles of PBNs play in search engine optimization? Oh, here we go. I'm getting pretty technical here.
There we go.
Yep.
The SEO talk. So PBNs is, it's called a private network. It's for link building. So basically, when you do SEO, you put a link onto a relevant website and it helps push up the rankings of that main website. What I think of PBNs, do they have their place? Yes, to a degree. If someone's paying $400 bucks a month for SEO, it's very hard to do purely wide hat SEO top level links. PBMs they're a cheap alternative to doing links. Would I recommend them? Depends on the client. Depends if the client wants it and agrees to it.
Let's get back to the story because I think the question is terrible. Yeah. But you guys both want what's going on. Moving back to WME and.
Geez, what do I think of WME now? That's an interesting question.
We'll get to that. So okay. I want to go for. Let's go for that. So I thought we'll go through the full story there. So, I sold this event. The $400 business goes to the $39 million exit. It's a big dream that a lot of startup companies have. Entrepreneurs are here. They want that. Yeah. To have that, and they're on the resume. Tell me how you aligned. Did you align yourself with Melbourne IT? Did Melbourne IT come knocking on the door? How did that deal start?
It's an interesting story. So I'll give you some background. There was 2 offers on the table. There was Melbourne IT for $39 million, and there was another offer on the table for $150 million. The offer for $150 million, they wanted me to stick around for 5 years. Melbourne IT, I said to them, I'm not going to work for you. I said, you can buy the business, but I'm going to exit straight away. So when I sold the company, I only sold 1/3 of the business. Right. So I sold WME, but I kept all the international offices.
Right.
So I said to Melbourne IT, yes, you can buy the business, but it's not with me. The other offer for $150 million was a 3 to 5 year exit, and I'd have to basically work for them for that amount of time. No amount of money is going to make me work for them for 3 to 5 years. They were beautiful people, really nice people, but it just wasn't for me. So how did it all come about? Well, I think I came to a stage about 9 to 10 months ago that I think it was time to exit the business. I've been doing WME for 9 years. I love the business, love the people. It was just time to do something else. It became repetitive. I go to work every day with my eyes closed. I could do it with my eyes shut. It was easy. There was no challenge left in the company. So I basically put the feelers out to see if there was interest in the company. I'd been offered before to sell the company, but I'd always rejected it. And then someone at Melbourne IT mentioned it, and then we started talking. And it was from start to finish, it was roughly a 6 to 8 month process. It was intense. They go through everything, financials, they meet the staff, things you never even think about, they look at. It's intense. So they went for 8 months. We got audited twice, once by PwC, once by EY, and then interviewed, and they go through all the software, and then finally we agree on terms. So my advice to you, if you ever sell your company, have a very good lawyer, have a very good bookkeeper or accountant, and make sure your financials are up to date. The problem we had, we were running our books on cash accounting. Does everyone know the difference between cash accounting and accrual accounting? So cash accounting is basically money received for that month, money out, so revenue received, expenses, that's basically your P&L. Accrual accounting is, if I receive $1,000 for a website, 50% deposit, but I've only done 25% of the work for that month, 25% counts towards the P&L, not the 50%. So we had to change our entire accounting system to meet the needs of the sale, which was challenging. But once we got through that, agreed on terms, Melbourne IT were very easy to deal with.
Right. Is it something? Is it something that's bittersweet? The story of Ben Horowitz comes to mind, where he's had this multi-billion-dollar exit or whatever it is, but crying that he's just had to, sold his company. Is it something like that?
Did I cry when I sold my company?
Or maybe when you got the check, but I don't know. But is it a bittersweet kind of thing?
When I made the decision to sell the business, I was all in. There was no going back. There was no hesitation. Some people are telling me, don't sell it, you're going to miss it. I'm thinking, no, I'm selling the business, and I think I've been there, I've done it, I'm happy with what I've done, it's time to move on. Once I signed the contracts for the $39 million, man, I was pretty happy. And not because of the money's great, but it because the whole process was so intense for 8 or 9 months. My wife almost left me because she was helping out with the due diligence at the time. It was a very tough process. It was long hours, working till 3 a.m. in the morning. It was tough. And once we signed that contract, relief came over me. And then when we received the money in the account, it was even nicer. It was a really good feeling. A lot of lessons were learned throughout the process. So if I do it again, I'd definitely make a few changes.
Was there some other things that were attractive to you on the side? Maybe investments that were working well, or a different space in digital land that was calling you? Was there something that you were excited about, or was it Appscore?
So Alex and I founded Appscore in 2010.
All right.
Appscore is an app development company. Has anyone used Tram Tracker? We built that, for example. So I definitely wanted to help Alex more in Appscore. I also started a business with my mate Jono right here.
See the exercise guy. Oh, here we go.
So we've got a business together called Hosting Australia and SiteGuard. So Hosting Australia is a web hosting and domain business, and SiteGuard is a website security company. I definitely want to spend more time on those businesses, and also spend some more time on the international businesses. So I've got still Thailand, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai.
Right.
And there's I think 400 people in those businesses. So
wow.
I definitely want to spend some more time over there. But I am also hungry for something new. I don't know what that is yet. I only sold the company, or WME, 2 months ago, so it's still fresh. I've been on holidays for the past 2 months. Just went to Japan and Chile for a bit, but I'm ready. I'm hungry again. I've got the hunger. When I was at WME, I wasn't hungry because it became so repetitive in what I was doing. I've got the hunger again to do something big, and I want to go big with something, but I'm not sure what that is yet. It could be Appscore, it could be Host Australia, it could be everything.
Do you think that is entrepreneurial is something that can be learned, or is just inherent?
Good question. I've had this debate 1,000 times with people.
Because when you talk about that hunger, I think that's just something that's in.
Can you teach it? to everyone, I don't think so. I got some mates who are they're artists and they're great artists, but are they hungry enough to be an entrepreneur? Probably not. I'm not stereotyping artists. It's just an example. Do I think you can teach it? No. Do I think you can encourage it? Yes. And someone who has that emotion and who has it, you can bring it out of them. But I don't think you can teach everyone to be an entrepreneur. And I don't think you want to teach everyone to be an entrepreneur. It's a tough slog. And most of the time, people don't win from it.
It's all the crazies. Where's all the other crazies in here?
Most of the time,
in here.
You live on bread and water and you don't make any money. I think a handful actually make some money from it. So would I recommend it to my child? Probably not. But if you're hungry and you really want to do it, you've got to give it everything. 9 till 5 does not work. And people who think it does, you're dreaming. It does not work. You've got to put the hours in. And if you want to do a business properly, you can't work your full-time job and do your business on the side. I don't think that works. And I generally don't invest in startups that do that. You need to give it 16 hours a day, 6 days a week. Have Sundays off. It's a lot of work. And I think it's definitely harder these days because it's more competitive.
Let me take some of these questions here. What do you think of WME now? I think we've got a couple of people from Melbourne IT in the crowd, so yeah, no bullshit. What's happening?
Man, honestly, I've been on
holidays.
I've been on holidays for a couple of months. So I'm not sure what's going on with the business at this stage. So yeah, I couldn't tell you what's happening.
When you first set out, did you know what success should look like? That's a good question.
Honestly, when I first started WME, it was going to be a side business for me. I was hoping to make $100,000 a year. Actually, sorry, when I was 20 years old, my dream was to make $100,000 salary by the time I was 30 years old. When I started WME, if I made $100,000 a year, I was done, I was wrapped. That's all I wanted. But once you get a taste for growth and you go, I'm at $1 million now I'm at $10 million, you think the possibilities are endless. And then you go, maybe I can get to $100 million. You keep wanting more. I know it sounds greedy, but you just keep wanting more. And it's not about the money. Money is just a byproduct of the success. If you have an amazing product or service and you love what you're doing, the money will come. For me, it's about building something great and hopefully a global business. You shouldn't set yourself limitations. In the early days, I had limitations, but now I'm thinking there are no limitations for anyone.
Were you on some Buddhist camp or something, man? Like, it just sounds all you're all zen.
No. It's just, mate. Honestly, there are no limitations anymore for anyone.
I love it. No, I love it.
There are none. Especially with social media these days, you can get a global audience instantly.
I'm in the club, man. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I dig it.
Trust me, drink the Kool-Aid. You'll love it.
Switching hats for a minute, I want to talk about you as a venture capitalist, as an investor. You're kind enough to sit down with a handful of startups here tonight. What is it that you're looking for in a company, and what is there a particular industry that you're excited about? And just good advice for the entrepreneurs trying to pitch you. Yeah.
I've generally got some core rules that I follow. I do break them, but these are my core rules. Recurring revenue, either B2C or B2B. If it's B2B, it needs to be a substantial payment per month. So instead of $9 a month, it needs to be $1,000 a month. And the reason being, there's 1 million businesses in Australia. There's 25 million consumers. So if you B2C, it's a lot easier to win business. And I like seeing money coming in every single month. I know what I'm going to earn next month. So I like recurring revenue businesses. I do like tech businesses. I generally stick to what I know. I've done the restaurant, lost money in the restaurant, but I actually do have a restaurant now in Albert Park. But is it for money? No, it's purely for enjoyment. And it's the people I invest in. So you might have the great idea, but if you're not the right fit for me and you, then it's not gonna work. Perfect example is Tribe, who were sponsoring this event. So I saw an article about Tribe, and I jumped on Facebook and I messaged Jules Lund. Didn't know who he was. And I said, mate, love what you're doing, love to be involved. Can we catch up for breakfast? He replied, caught up for breakfast with Jules and Anthony, who's a GM.
Yeah, smart guy.
Smart guy. Had lunch with him, I had breakfast with him. Really smart guys. Professional, knew what they wanted to achieve, had a good product, and influencer marketing. Everyone's on social media. Everyone's walking around streets on their phone, aren't they? Everyone's on Instagram. So I met with Jules and I said, mate, where do I sign? And I basically signed up within 24 hours because one, Jules Lund had star power. Like he could use his influence to generate business. He was on 60 Minutes on the weekend. If he wasn't a personality, he wouldn't have been on there, let's be honest. He's a celebrity. So I try and invest in the right people.
So is that story, right? You just see that story, that ticks the box, that ticks the box.
Yeah,
is it the
because if you go outside of that,
yeah,
risk rises. If you can stay within those parameters, you minimise your risk. Because startups are bloody risky. How many startups fail in the first 5 years? I think it's 80%. 90%. It's a high risk investment. And like I said earlier, if I invest $1 million into Facebook shares, they'll probably double within 18 months. A startup, there's a good chance I'm going to lose that money. So you need to justify why I should invest in you.
Right. Take one more question here. This is a good one. What have you learned about managing your work-life balance? Well, is there such a thing for entrepreneurs? Is this just I don't think Tim Ferriss is actually working only 4 hours a week, man. I think that's bullshit.
I've read his book, but I don't believe in a 4-hour work week. But it's a good concept. Managing work-life balance, in the early days, there is no balance. You've got to work your ass off. Cut out the partying, cut out hanging out with your friends, talking shit. You've just got to put your head down and work. As time went on, my balance is probably a little bit different now. I work, so I get up at 6, exercise, I'm at work by 8, I finish around 6 or 7. So what's that, 11-hour day, and that's fine. You need to be doing 16-hour days if you're starting a business. There is no balance. Now, it's no issue. Once you've got a good business built, you need a very good, strong management team who can take the workload off you. They take the brunt. The way I've seen it, I've been in the trenches, I've done my time. Now I need people to support what I've done.
How do you, and I think it sounds like you found this a hard thing to do. How do you put the trust in other people and
good question.
You know, and just trust that they're going to do it, you know?
I was a very trusting person when I first started the company, and I got burnt 1,000 times by people saying they've done the job, or Nick, can I borrow some money, or multiple things. And the amount of times I got burnt was ridiculous. That's why I said earlier, you need people who make a real difference, game changers, someone who you can trust. If someone says they've done something and you don't know their work that well, always check their work. Double check everything in your company, it's crucial. Trust has to be earned. In the early days, I gave trust freely to everyone. In startups, in my own business, to my staff. That's one of the biggest mistakes I made, is giving too much trust. It needs to be earned, not once, but multiple times before it's given.
Oh, fuck the restaurant in Albert Park, come on. Let's see, what's the restaurant called? Go, give it a plug.
It's called Greenfields.
Greenfields, all right. Last question, what's, I guess, parting advice to the entrepreneurs in here and on their journey?
Probably the biggest advantage I've had in business, I didn't overthink situations. My ex-girlfriend said to me once, "You're too dumb to overthink situations." Yeah, it's true. I don't overanalyze situations, but it's also probably my biggest weakness, because I'm quite impulsive in business. If I like it, okay, let's just do this. Let's roll it out. Let's roll the dice and make this happen. Sometimes you need to analyze situations, but you also need to make a decision. So look at this situation, analyse it briefly, then make a decision. And I was always very quick at what I did. I don't do things tomorrow, I do things today. If that means working till midnight, I'll get it done today. Look for the quick wins in your business. If it takes you 5, 10 minutes or an hour, just get it done. Get it off the list. So important. And have a to-do list. Every day, I wake up in the morning and I write down on a piece of paper exactly what I need to do. It made such a difference to my life.
I want everyone back on their feet, and we'll give a big thank you to Nick for coming again once again. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks, mate. Thank you so much.